Okay, so now that our jacket is sewn together, we're going to add the interfacing at the hem. Okay, so like at the vent, the interfacing at the hem can either be fusible or hair canvas. I'm going to use hair canvas to stay consistent with the rest of the jacket. So I'm going to lay this out, and notice I have one piece here. It stretches from my hair canvas at front to my back vent hair canvas, and I'm going to pin it in place. So just a few pins along the center of it should hold it in place, because we'll end up doing a diagonal basting stitch. So line up the hem edges and get everything nice and lined up. Now notice up here that my canvas is going under my side seam. I'm going to stay consistent with that and do it here at side seam as well. So I'm just using my seam as a guide. I'm cutting right through, and then I'll tuck that right under my side seam. And if I need to trim a little bit more off, because it's a little too big, I want just a little smaller, I'll just trim a little more off, and then it should sit snugly right under that side seam like so. And I'll do the same on this side. Just trim a little bit more off so it just sits snugly right under there. And there we go. Okay. So now I can baste. I'll just do a diagonal basting stitch through the center of this, and it should hold it on in place, no problem. So I can eventually catch stitch all this down. So again, I'll just baste through the center of this, starting at my back vent, moving up to my front. Okay, there we go. It's all basted. Make sure everything's flat underneath. Cut it. Okay, so now I'm going to start catch stitching. I'm going to catch stitch my seams, the wool seams, just like we did before. I'm going to catch stitch them down to the hair canvas. Okay. So I'll do that on both sides of my seam allowance here at side seam. And so just go up one side and then just go down the other, and it shouldn't be any issue. It should stitch down no problem. So there we go. Both side seams are stitched down. Okay. Now I'm going to catch stitch this underneath the seam allowance of my front panel. Okay. So I just put it underneath, and now I'm going to catch stitch it down. Okay. And just stitch it all the way down from one end to another. And remember, you're just catching the wool of the seam allowance and to the hair canvas interfacing. There we go. And just tie off at the end. Okay, so now here on the back, I'm going to catch stitch the back of this hem interfacing to my vent interfacing. So just make sure when you're catch stitching these down that you're not making it too tight where it's pulling your hem in any direction or causing it to gather in any way, or it should all just fit together nice and neat and lie very smooth when you're done. So there we go. That has been tacked together now. Okay, and here at my back princess seam, I'm also going to do like I did the side seam. I'm going to trim using the seam as a guide, and I'm going to tuck these right underneath. Okay, and I'll probably need to trim a little bit more off here so that it fits nice and snugly under there. Remember, you want it to lay nice and flat. Okay, so you might trim a little more off so it doesn't bunch up, and then just hand tack with a catch stitch down. Just catch stitch that down, the seam allowance of the wool down to the hair canvas, and you'll do that on both sides. Okay, now that I catch stitched my seam allowance down to my hem interfacing, I'm going to catch stitch the top of the hem interfacing to the wool of the jacket. Alright, so just like we've done many other times now, and I'm going to catch stitch the canvas, and I'm going to catch stitch the wool. Just be sure when you're catch stitching the wool that you're only catching a few strands of thread, because you don't want to have any big puckers or thread showing through on the face of the jacket. And you'll do that across the whole, from center back, the vented center back, all the way to the canvas at the front. And when you're done, make sure to check the back of the jacket, the face of it, to make sure there's no puckers or anything. You might want to just give it a press from the wrong side, because if there are some small puckers, they'll get out. And here it is done. Okay, so you can see all my seams are catch stitched down, and it's like this on both sides. Okay. So it's pretty simple. Just make sure nothing's bunching, everything's laying flat and nicely. And that's the hem, attaching the hem canvas.